Hello and welcome to ShootDotEdit's online training, Hope Taylor's 5 Secrets to Success, how she built a 6-figure business in 1 year. My name is Caitlin Cooper, and I'm the marketing coordinator here at ShootDotEdit. Today, I'm going to be your host with the majority of the training being conducted by Hope. So a little background on this online training software. Overall, it's really simple. We encourage you to use the chat feature, which is going to be located on the right side of your screen. We're going to be asking questions, but one of the best parts about this, you guys, is that it's an interactive training. That means you can carry on conversations with other attendees to get your questions answered. Also, remember that your chat conversations are live, so please be mindful and respectful of one another. So for those of you that are new to ShootDotEdit, let me tell you a little bit about us. We are the first choice post-processing partner for the wedding pro and everything they shoot. We make your images look consistently awesome based on your chosen color profile. Fast is best and no one is faster. We provide turnaround time as fast as 48 hours. So for this training today, we've partnered with HoneyBook and the Rising Tide Society. HoneyBook is a workflow management system that streamlines proposals, invoices and payments, sends customized agreements to your clients, and more to help you stay organized. The Rising Tide Society is a community built by creatives for creatives that educates and empowers creatives to thrive in the spirit of community over competition. And, Hope loves both of those companies. So we're really, really excited that they get to be a part of this today too. So Hope Taylor's 5 Secrets to Success. The path to success differs for every business owner. So how can you build a roadmap that fits your personal photography business, helps you increase income, and ensures your longevity in the industry? Well, today, Hope's going to share her secrets, including how she built a 6-figure business in just 1 year. With her secrets, she's going to share actionable ways for you to achieve this for your business. So a little bit about Hope. Hope's journey of becoming a full-time business owner after graduating high school gives her a unique perspective on entrepreneurship. She travels the world photographing weddings and speaking at conferences and events. With a passion for business strategy and marketing, her priority is to provide photographers with the practical tools and knowledge to grow a successful, profitable business. So Hope, so glad to have you here today. I think this is going to be a really, really great training for everybody who's tuning in today.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here, and I really can't wait to dive in. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be super exciting. And, one thing that I'm really excited about is for you, especially, like, you chose to dive into this wedding photography world, like, right after high school, and I have to ask, like, what made you decide you wanted to do that, kind of just coming out, high school at 18? Like, that's huge.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a crazy season of life for me. And I'm actually going to walk through a little bit of like the timeline of how it all unfolded. But it was a really tough decision. I was actually committed to a university for business. And then I revoked my admission a month before I was supposed to leave. And it was a last minute decision. And we could have saved a lot of money if we had made it earlier. But it just kind of was laid on my heart. And I just decided that I was going to go with my gut. And it worked out for the best. So I'm so thankful. But yeah, definitely a crazy season of life when all of that was happening.
Oh, well, I can't wait to hear a little bit more about it as you dive in today. But I think everybody here is just so excited to learn from you and kind of hear what you have to say. So without further ado, why don't we just jump right in?
That sounds great. Okay, guys, let's do this. So first of all, I just want to say I'm so excited and so thankful to be here. I was walking on the beach with some friends. I was on a trip when I got this email and I stopped like mid in my tracks and I was like, guys, I'm so excited. I get to do an online training. So I'm super pumped to be here today. But let's go ahead and dive right in. One of my favorite things that I like to start all of my presentations off with is some of my images from the first year of my business. Because our job as business owners and as creatives is to make it look like we have it all together and that we are just so awesome and that we're so good at what we do. But the reality is that none of us come out of the womb knowing how to do this. None of us just are born with all of these talents in photography or in business or in marketing. And I was no exception to that. So my images in my first year my business in my first year looked drastically different than it does now. And I always like to open presentations with this because I don't want anybody watching this to feel intimidated or to feel like they could never be where I am or get to where I am, because the reality is that I started at the same place that you did, and I've been through a lot of the seasons that some of you may be experiencing right now. So I don't want anybody to feel alone or unworthy as we go through this because of the followers I have now or because of the way my images look now, because full disclaimer, they did not look like that before. I'm not sure what I thought was cute about either of these photos. The one on the right looks a lot like she's in a jail cell. But it's totally fine. So I just like to open with that to just show you guys and be fully transparent that I did not know what I was doing when I was starting. My business did not look like it did now. And I want to help you guys get to where I am now compared to where I was at the beginning. So I'm going to walk you guys through a little bit of a timeline of how my business got started and how things progressed to where I am now. So just like Caitlin mentioned, I began my business when I was only 17 years old. So I was a junior in high school and I took a photojournalism class just for fun. And one of the requirements for that class was that I had to have a DSLR camera. So I got my very first camera. It was $200 on eBay. And I was so excited because you could take the lens off. And to me, that was like life-changing that I could change the lenses on my camera. So it was an exciting moment for me. But I fell in love with photography during that class. And so for my entire junior year, I kind of continued to pursue it for fun, really. And I would take pictures of my friends and we would go out and do photo shoots when we were hanging out. And that was kind of the extent of it throughout my junior year. And then over the summer, right before my senior year, I was working a part-time job at a retail store, and I just started to feel really stuck. I started to feel like maybe there was something more for me, and maybe I could be doing something else with my time that would make me more excited and that I would have more passion for. And so I decided to quit my full-time job, or excuse me, my part-time job at the retail store, and pursue photography as more than just a hobby. So I started out charging $40 for an hour session, and I thought that I was rolling in money because I went from making $7.25 to $40 an hour, and I was like, this is the life. I don't need anything else. This is all I need. And so for the entire summer before my senior year, I kind of built up this little mini quote unquote business. And on the left-hand side, you can see a photo of me when I was just turned 18, about to start my senior year. I got my business license and made things officially official. So Hope Taylor Photography was born when I was 18, right before my senior year of high school. So throughout my senior year, I continued to grow my business. I realized that I actually really, really loved business, and I really loved marketing, and I really loved creating strategy. And I just kind of fell in love with the whole concept and lifestyle of being an entrepreneur. So as my business was growing, my desire to go far away for college was quickly declining. So I applied to 7 universities, and I decided to commit to the one that was closest to home, but it was still an 8-hour round trip from where I was living and from where my business had been built. And so I graduated, I was continuing to grow my business. It was getting bigger and bigger. I committed to the college. Like I said, I went to orientation. I signed up for classes. I had a roommate. We spent lots of dollars to commit to the school and to start buying things for my dorm. And then I decided a month before I was supposed to leave, I woke up one morning and I said, Mom, you know what? I don't think that I'm supposed to go away to school. And she just looked at me and she nodded her head and she said, okay. And so the next day I revoked my admission. I did a blog post about the fact that I wasn't going to be going to school. And my business went full-time from there. So one of the biggest things that helped me make that decision was, I don't know if any of you follow Caroline Logan. If you do, let me know in the chat. She's a wedding photographer based in Lancaster, and she is absolutely incredible. And she was also my idol at the time. She's a year older than me, and she was running a full-time wedding photography business and just totally killing it. And I was just so impressed with her. So I walked into a workshop one day, and she was standing there, and I was like, I think I almost started crying. I was fangirling harder than I've ever fangirled in my life. I was like, Caroline Logan is in the room. And I went up and talked to her, and I hadn't made my college decision yet at this point, but she had recently made the decision to go full time and not pursue school. And so I asked her what made her make that decision. And this is what she said to me. She said, wherever you go, you want to be all there. Whatever you pursue in your life, whatever you desire to have for your life, you want to put 100% of yourself into that thing. And so her telling me that is what kind of pushed me in the direction of pursuing my business full time. And I will always be so thankful for that. So fast forward 4 years, I'm about to turn 21. I just launched my brand new website and brand last year. I'm now an educator, I'm a teacher, I'm a speaker, and I absolutely love it. I'm so thankful. And I'm a full-time wedding photographer. So it's a little bit of my story to kind of catch you up to where I am now, and kind of touch on this college story that Caitlin mentioned. But one of the hardest things is that when I decided to go full-time with my business and not to go to school, my dad was not 100% on board with the idea because he waited until he was in his 40s to pursue an education. And it was so hard for him because he had a family and he had kids and he had other priorities, and he didn't want to see me go down that same path. And so he gave me 1 year to show him that I could make this happen and that I could support myself and that I could be financially independent through this business, or else I had to go back to school. So I literally had 1 year to prove that I could do this and I could make this happen. So I had no choice but to make this dream of mine happen really, really fast. So I had 365 days to show my dad that this business could be something that made me financially independent, that it was lucrative, that it could be full-time and not just me working like 2 hours a day and going and hanging out with my friends. I had to show him that this was the real deal. And so that was kind of why I had 1 year to build my business. And this is the year that I built my business to be 6 figures and that it set my business up for the success that I now have in my business, which I'm so thankful for. So I'm going to share with you guys the 5 ways that I made this happen during this 365 days. I'm going to share the 5 secrets, the 5 best things that I could have done for my business to set it up for success and to make it a 6-figure photography business in that first year. But before I dive in and start sharing those 5 things, I want to know, where are you in your business right now? Because you might not just be starting off. This might not be your first year, but these 5 things could still apply to you. So maybe you see a lull in your bookings and you want to increase your bookings for 2017 and 2018. Or maybe you've just moved to a completely new area and you need to kind of market your business from the ground up. These 5 things are going to help you so much. Or maybe you are transitioning from being a photographer into being an educator. And these 5 concepts are still going to apply to you as far as growing a new business and marketing yourself and gaining clientele. So tell me in the chat, where are you in your business right now? I want to hear from you. All right, guys, we're just going to go ahead and dive right in. So the first thing that I want you guys to know about building a really quick business in 1 year is that you don't want to fear the word free. I think that sometimes when you're starting out a business, you look at yourself as such a strong business owner that you don't want to budge on your pricing and you don't want to think about the fact that you might have to work really hard to make money and not make money at first. And that was a concept that was hard for me to swallow because I was like, I just quit this job. Like I have to pay for so many things. I'm a full-time student. I don't have time to just work for free and not get paid. And that's probably you too if you're a mom or if you have a family or if you have somebody to support other than yourself. You're probably thinking to yourself, woman, you are crazy. I don't have time to work for free and not get paid. But I want you to hear me out. Because you can use opportunities when you are shooting for free to set a platform for success of your business that you wouldn't be able to have otherwise. So we're going to talk about how you can utilize free work and free shoots to build your business and not be a waste of your time, and how you can strategically structure them to actually benefit you more than I believe anything else in the beginning of a business or in the beginning of a new season. So I want you guys to keep this in mind. You're in complete control of your client's perception of you. So you're in complete control of whether or not your clients view you as a cheap photographer or whether or not they view you as somebody who's just starting out and needs experience. You're in complete control of how your clients view you. And I want you to consider using these opportunities as building blocks for your business. So instead of thinking of shooting for free as a waste of your time, I want you to think of these opportunities as building blocks. And again, I'm going to share with you how you can use those opportunities to strategically build your business instead of be a waste of your time. So if you're doing a shoot for free, and you reach out to somebody or you find somebody online or you find a friend and they're just absolutely beautiful and you really want to photograph them, I'm going to share with you all the do's and don'ts for how to set up that shoot and strategically market it to grow your business. So you do want to be very selective and strategic with the people that you photograph and offer your time to for free. So for example, if you find somebody, or if somebody contacts you and they're asking you for discounts and they're asking you ways to lower your package prices because they really want a deal, or they straight up ask you if you can shoot them for free, those situations are probably not situations where it's going to benefit you, because that's just a client looking for a discount. But if you reach out to a client who has a really strong community of people around them and who's very involved in their community and who has a lot of social media followers and who has friends who are probably ideal clients of yours, that person and that opportunity could potentially build your business. And so you want to be selective and strategic in who you choose to photograph for free and who you allow to use your time for free. You do want to make sure that you contact these people privately. So, for example, I would contact a friend who I saw who dressed the way that I wanted my clients to dress, who had a style that I wanted my clients to have, who had a large following on social media, who had a lot of friends that were probably also ideal clients of mine, and who were willing to share these images to help me grow my business. We'll talk about that a little more later on. But the key is that you want to contact them privately. You don't want to post on social media that you're offering shoots for free. You don't want to share constantly that you're having discounts. You don't want to post and say, comment below if you'd like free photos this week. Instead, you want to contact them privately. So everybody else's perception of your business is not that you are just a cheap photographer or that you're just starting out or that they can get a discount from you. So reach out to these people privately and contact them about this opportunity. And you do want to make it feel like a privilege. So instead of reaching out to them and saying, hey, I'm new to this area and I really need to build my business, would you like to work together to model for me for the day? They're going to view that opportunity as them doing you a favor. And that's not what you want. You want them to feel like you are doing them a huge favor and that it's this incredible opportunity that they get to model for you and have photos done by you. So instead, make sure you give them a reason that you are photographing them for free. So if you're reaching out to somebody and offering them a free shoot, you want to make sure that you give them a reason and make it feel like a privilege for them. So I would say something along the lines of, hi, my name is Hope Taylor and I'm a local photographer. I just purchased a new lens and I would absolutely love to have you model for me so that I can test out my new equipment. And that way you sound like a professional, you sound like a business owner that's experienced, and they're like, oh my goodness, what an amazing opportunity. I would love to help you out. So make sure you make it feel like a privilege and give them a reason. You want to make sure that you serve them well and that you over-deliver just like you would with a normal client. So if you're working with somebody for free and providing this opportunity for them, you want to make sure that you're really loving on them well and serving them well, because you want them to leave that shoot with you and have awesome reasons to tell their friends about you and to talk about you and to kickstart word of mouth marketing in an awesome way. So make sure that you serve them well and that you over-deliver. We're going to talk a lot more about that later on. And you do want to make sure that you take advantage of having full artistic control. So one of the cool parts about offering shoots for free and being strategic about who you're choosing and how you're approaching them is that you are in full creative control of the shoot that you're doing. So you get to choose the locations, you get to choose the outfits, sometimes you'll get to choose the hair and makeup, and you can style this shoot to look exactly like an ideal client would, and then you can share it all over social media, you can blog it, you can use it on your websites, and it'll bring in more ideal clients because of the way that you have creatively styled it. So make sure that you take full advantage of that. Create Pinterest boards with inspiration. Tell your client exactly what to wear and where you'll be shooting, and make sure that you are in full creative control and take advantage of that opportunity. You also want to make sure that you strategically add variety. So one of my favorite parts about utilizing this in the beginning of my business was that I constantly had new social media content to be sharing, and the only person that knew that those shoots were unpaid was me and the person that I directly contacted about shooting. Nobody else knew that I wasn't paid for these shoots. So everyone's outside perspective of my business is that I am so in demand and I am so busy and they better book me ASAP or else they're not going to get a spot. So one of the things that I did when I was shooting these people for free is that I was being very strategic about adding a ton of variety. I was shooting at multiple locations. I was doing multiple outfits. I was making sure I was cropping images differently and shooting different styles. And that way I had so much social media content from each shoot that I could post one photo from that shoot this week and then another photo next week, and nobody would know that they were from the same shoot. And that just made me look even more in demand. And you do want to fake it until you make it. So just like I was saying, you want to share those images and make it look like those were paid sessions. You don't want to lie, but you also don't need to mention that the shoot was unpaid, because you're faking it till you make it. And everybody's outside perception of your business is going to be that you're busy and that you're in demand. And that is going to make you busy and make you in demand. So now we're going to dive into what you don't want to do. You don't want to give in to people who ask. So what I have found, I kind of learned the hard way in the beginning of my business, is that if you give in to somebody who's asking for a discount or asking for a free shoot, they are very likely to take advantage of you in that situation. And it breaks my heart, because I learned the hard way with some clients I was really excited to work with, that if somebody is looking for a deal or looking for a free shoot, they most likely don't care about you or your business specifically. They just want free photos for themselves. So I don't give in to those people who ask for a free shoot or ask for a discount. You don't want to allow the client to be in control. So somebody told me a little bit of a horror story about a situation where they reached out to somebody, they offered them a session, and then that client tried to be in full control. They tried to pick their outfits. They tried to redo their hair and makeup after the makeup artist did it. And you want to make sure that you set the standard up front, that you are in full creative control of this shoot and that you are doing your client a favor. They are not in control of the shoot. Make sure that you stay in control. You don't want to offer discounts frequently. I mentioned this earlier. You don't want to post on social media that you're offering frequent discounts. You don't want to post that you're doing free shoots to better your portfolio. Those things will make everybody's perception of your business something negative that you don't want. You want to make sure that you try to avoid offering discounts frequently on social media. Okay, guys, so the second thing I did to grow my business, are we still with me? Let me know in the chat. You still with me? Hopefully everybody's taking lots of good notes.
Yeah, hope you're giving some really, really great insights already. And I'm over here and I'm already like writing down questions I have that we'll kind of wait till the end to talk about. But I love it. Let's keep going.
Perfect. Yay. Okay. So number 2 is to always remember that success attracts success. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but you want to make sure that your business appears to be in demand and appears to be popular, because everybody wants the things that are in demand. Just like people stand outside for hours at Apple to buy a new iPhone, everybody wants what is in demand. So if you can make your business appear to be in demand and successful, that's exactly what it's going to become. So you want to make sure that you're sharing fresh work frequently. And one of the responses I get when I say this is, but I don't have fresh work to be sharing. So go back to number 1, set up some free shoots with some awesome people that are ideal clients, and make sure you strategically market those, and you're going to be able to have fresh work to share all the time. So make sure that you're constantly sharing fresh work, that you're keeping social media updated, and that your portfolio is growing, and that your blog is constantly updated as well, if that applies to you. Because when it comes to social media, perception is reality. And I've said this a few times already, but people's perception of your business is so important. And if the only people that know that the shoots that you're doing weren't paid are you and the client that you shot, then that doesn't matter to anybody but those 2 people, and everybody's perception is that your business is so in demand. In the first 6 months of my business, I was probably being paid for 1 shoot every 2 to 3 weeks, but I was doing 2 to 3 shoots per week because I was going out and I was hustling hard and I was creating new content for myself and being really strategic about how I shared it. And then those following 6 months, I was booked back to back to back, and my prices were triple what they were in those first 6 months because I was so strategic about that. So remember that perception is reality. Number 3, the third thing that you want to do to grow your business quickly is to treat your business as a business. And this sounds kind of silly. Some of you are going to be like, of course you have to treat your business like a business. But when you're starting out and you don't really feel like a business owner yet, and you don't really feel like you're the real deal yet because you're still learning and you're still growing, even in that season, you still have to treat your business like a business. And it's okay to take yourself seriously even before everybody else does. So you want to keep things consistent. And this is so important. And I didn't even learn the extent of how important consistency is until I was a little further on in my business. But you want to keep everything in your business consistent and streamlined as much as you can, because that's going to make people perceive you as professional and as experienced and as a luxury business owner that they're willing to invest more money in. So when I'm talking about consistency, I'm talking about social media with how often you post. I'm talking about consistency consistency with style, both in your brand and in your images. I'm talking about consistency with booking processes and client experience. And we're going to talk more about all of those things later, but just put a big star next to the word consistency because you want to keep things as consistent as you can. And then you also want to think of Instagram and your social media outlets like your social media storefronts. And this was something that I didn't do for a while. Because I kind of thought that an Instagram feed was overrated. I thought that paying a ton of attention to what your feed looked like was so silly and so overrated, and I would roll my eyes when people talked about it. But when you think of it like a social media storefront, it kind of makes a lot more sense, and it's kind of heavy because when somebody clicks on your Instagram profile, whether they find you from a comment or from being tagged or from another social media outlet, they're going to decide within less than 1 second whether or not they want to follow you solely based off of what your first 6 to 9 squares of your Instagram feed look like. Isn't that kind of heavy? That's kind of intense when you think about it like that. That those first 6 to 9 squares have to represent your business, they have to represent your brand, and they have to attract the people that you want to be following you because they only have like 1 second to make a decision of whether or not they want to follow along or click over to the next person. Make sure that you're keeping things clean on social media. This was something that because I was 18 when I was beginning my business, I was posting about things like graduation and prom and going out with friends and all of the typical high school things. But that didn't make my social media look professional, and it didn't make it look like something that somebody could invest money in. It didn't make my business look experienced. So make sure that if you're just starting your business, or if you're in a season of transition, or even if you're 5 years into your business, make sure you're keeping things clean and professional on all of your social media outlets. Avoid posting anything controversial. Avoid posting any images that are maybe not appropriate or could be potentially controversial. Just try to keep things really clean and really professional across all social media outlets. Even my personal Facebook and my personal accounts are kept clean and professional at all times. And I mentioned this earlier, but just know that it is okay to take yourself seriously, even before everybody else takes you seriously. I think that when I started my business, people would look at me and think, what does this girl think she is doing? And who does she think she is? Because I didn't know anything, guys. I had a $200 camera off of eBay. I was YouTubing to learn how to use it. I was Googling to figure out all the different marketing terms and editing softwares. I knew nothing. And everybody knew that I knew nothing if they were my friend or my family, but I took myself seriously, and so other people started to take me seriously too. So I give you permission to take yourself seriously even before other people do. And you also want to make sure you nail down your client booking workflow. So we were talking about consistency earlier. One of the things that I nailed down is at the very beginning of my business was my client booking workflow. So the way that I accepted payments, the way that I accepted contracts, and the way that my client booked with me so that it was consistent all across the board, both on the front end for my clients and on the back end for my organization. So make sure that you nail down your client booking workflow when it comes to payments and contracts and those types of things as quick as you can. Number 4, and this one is what I feel like is the most important. The fourth thing that I did in that first year to grow my business so quickly is that I gave my business a heart. Instead of just marketing my product and services, I marketed myself as an individual. And that set me apart from all of the other photographers in my area by default because none of them were me. So none of them could market the same way that I was marketing. So just a few examples of what I mean by that. So this is just an Instagram post. It's just an iPhone behind the scenes picture of me photographing one of my senior clients. But in the caption, I talked a lot about my story and how I got started and that I could have never imagined my business growing to where it is. It was just kind of an inspirational and encouraging caption about my story and encouraging other people to follow their dreams as well. And this photo got almost double the likes of the professional sneak peek that I posted from this shoot that I'm photographing in this image. And it was just so crazy to me how quickly I learned that people wanted to connect with me. People wanted to see my heart and they wanted to interact with me. And these images and this type of content always gets double the likes, double the interaction as anything else. And this right here is my boyfriend, Drew. And we have this running joke in our relationship that any photo he's in gets over 1,000 likes no matter what, because everybody likes him more than me. And so anytime I share about him, because it's personal and because it has nothing to do with my business, people can relate to that. People can interact with that and they can connect to me on a personal level that separates me from all the other business owners.
You know, Hope, I love this photo, first of all.
Thank you.
But, you know, everything you just said right now, it is just so on point. And it is so much more than just marketing your business, but it's about marketing the person behind that business. And in this case, that's you. And people want to book you. They don't necessarily want to book your service, and it is really about showing them like who you are as a person and your hobbies and, the little quirky things that make you who you are. And those are usually the things that your clients then connect to, rather than that you can shoot an 8-hour wedding. Like, everybody who's a wedding photographer is going to be offering that, but it's all about what makes you, a little bit different than other photographers and what's going to draw a person to you because of that, unique quality. So
yeah, absolutely. No, I love everything you just said. And I think too that it's so important to remember that if the only things you're sharing are your work and your credentials and all of your professional like badges of blogs you've been featured on, if you think about it, none of our brides, none of our clients, they can't relate to that because nine times out of 10, they're not photographers. And so they can't relate to things about photography or about how you got started or about your credentials. They can look at it and they can appreciate it, but they can't relate to it. And so you want to make sure there's things about your business and your social media and your website that your clients can relate to, not just appreciate.
Yeah, and one of the great things too, rather than, just showing, all the awards that you're getting, like that's great, but how many other photographers can do that? And when you really dig deep and find the things that are unique about you, that's how you can then stand out from, other photographers. And it's great because everybody can then stand out in their own way, and it becomes a lot less about competition and trying to get someone, but everybody's then getting their ideal client, which I think is so important.
Oh yeah, it comes full circle. I love what you just said, because when you're marketing yourself as an individual and you're marketing your authentic self and things about you that make you who you are, you're going to by default separate yourself from everybody else. You're going to by default attract your ideal clients because they can connect to you and they can relate to you. And you're going to by default not be mimicking anybody else or worried about doing the same things other people are doing, because you are you and nobody can mimic that. And I just think that it comes full circle as being one of the best ways to market, because you really can't go wrong.
I agree. Great stuff.
Oh, thank you. And then this blog post right here is actually one of the most read blog posts on my entire blog. And sometimes I get frustrated about it. I'm like, guys, I work so hard to photograph these beautiful weddings, and this blog post has over 10,000 hits. And that's like 9 times what most of my weddings get. But I went through a season where I was dealing with some people that were posting nasty things online. And it's something that I think a lot of people go through as business owners. So I just shared a blog post about that experience. And again, it got 10 times the hits that most of my blog posts do. Just because I was real and I was authentic. It didn't really have anything to do with my business. It was relatable, and it was showing that I'm a person. I'm a human being, not just a business owner and a photographer. So a few ways that you can practically do this. You can switch it up a little bit in your About Me. So just like Caitlin and I were just saying, if your About Me only talks about your credentials and how you got started and the badges of where you've been featured, those things are great, and I think that you should keep them there. But I think that you should also add in some things that have nothing to do with your photography or with your services, but have everything to do with just you as a person. So this is actually a snapshot from my old website. It was just recently updated, but I have a few little quirky things on my website that have nothing to do with my photography business. So I have my essentials up top where you can see like all my favorite things, which includes chicken nuggets and Chick-fil-A. And then on the bottom, you can see this, not that, like the fact that I collect coffee mugs, but I literally don't drink coffee. So it's just funny, quirky things about me, but I can't even tell you how many inquiries I get that start with somebody saying, oh my gosh, I love Chick-fil-A too. Or, oh my gosh, my husband microwaves his ice cream just like you do. I actually had a wedding at the Biltmore book me because she said it in her email that one of the ways she was going to convince her husband that they needed me there was that he also microwaves his ice cream. And that has nothing to do with my credentials. That has nothing to do with my business, but it was just a funny, quirky way that they could relate to me that separated me from all of the other photographers they were seeing and looking at throughout the booking process. So a couple that does an incredible job at marketing themselves as individuals is Amy and Jordan. I don't know if you guys follow Amy and Jordan. They don't even know they're in my presentation, but I love these two. And this is the homepage of their website. So when you go to their wedding photography website, this is the first thing you see. Nothing about their business, nothing about how they got started, nothing about their credentials. It's just learning about them as people, because they want their clients to connect with them as individuals and be willing to invest in them as people before they learn about why they're so awesome and all of their credentials. And then here, this is on their brides page where they learn about their packages and their pricing and their experience and all of those things. But they also put a little personal touch here, and they talked about why they do what they do and the reasons that their personal life connects them to their photography. And that was an awesome, genius marketing way to incorporate personal marketing to relate to their brides. So they do an incredible job of personal marketing and giving their business a heart. Another way I like to do this is that when I walk into consultations with brides or phone calls or meetings, I walk in and I approach it just like we're old friends, because I market myself so personally on social media that they probably feel like they already know me. And I do that on purpose. I want them to feel like they already know me. But if they walk into the consultation and they're like, hey girl, how's Drew? How's your dog? How was your trip last week? And I'm like, oh, what's your name again? Then there's going to be a major disconnect in the fact that they feel like we're best friends already, and I clearly don't know them very well yet. So I approach every meeting and consultation just like we're old friends. I ask a questionnaire to my brides when they inquire with me so I can learn a little bit about them. And I do a little bit of social media stalking before they get there so that we can kind of be on the same page when they walk in. And she can say, how was your vacation? And I can be like, oh my gosh, how's your dog? How's your brother? And we can just kind of pretend that we're old friends off the bat, because that's how I want to market myself. And that's how I want it to be consistent throughout my entire experience. So remember that clients will come for your images, but they're going to stay for your heart. So make sure that you're giving your business a heart. And then lastly, number 5, still with me, guys? I know we're rolling through fast.
No, you're doing great. It's so interesting, like doing these, sometimes like everyone gets really chatty and they're so into it. And then sometimes like the chats just go quiet because everybody's just taking notes on like what you're saying and what you're doing. And, I just think that you have some really, really awesome points here. And I think we're on our 5th one out of 5. So let's just, let's keep going through it.
All right, guys, we're going to bring it home. So 5th and finally, you want to make sure that you are creating an incredible and consistent client experience. What I learned really early on is another way to separate myself from all the other business owners and photographers around me was to create a client experience that was more than just an exchange of money and service. I didn't want it to just be a business transaction with my clients. I wanted it to feel like a friendship and an experience. And I wanted to make sure I did that off the bat. So you've probably heard this concept before. Let me know if you have in the chat. I'm sure a ton of you have heard the concept of under-promising and over-delivering. But this is the number one way that I serve my clients and I create an experience in my business throughout the entire business, throughout social media, throughout my experience with my clients, throughout everything. And under-promising and over-delivering is basically the concept of intentionally setting low expectations for your clients and purposefully exceeding them. So just one example is that I know that I'm probably going to deliver upwards of 100 images in my client galleries for portrait sessions, but I only tell them that they're receiving 60. So when they get a gallery of over 100 images, they're like, oh my gosh, she just loved me so much. I must have just been so great that she just filled my gallery to the brim. And that's exactly how I want them to feel throughout the entire experience. So kind of write out what your client experience looks like right now. I want you guys to kind of write down how many images do you deliver? What's your turnaround time? What's your email response time? Are you giving any gifts through your experience? And then I want you to do things to intentionally exceed the expectations that you're setting with your clients. So I want you to think about where your clients feel the most loved in their experience with you. What do you do to make them feel loved? What do you do to separate their experience with you from the experience that they've had maybe with other photographers or just with other business owners in general? What are you doing to make them feel loved and encouraged right now? For me, I'm going to walk you through a few ways that I do this in my business so that you can get some practical examples. And I'm going to show you one of the awesome results of it in one of my awesome brides. So one of the things that I do is I have created a pricing guide for all of my clients. So when they inquire with me off the bat, they're receiving this pricing guide. It's just a PDF that I attach to an email. It's actually Caitlin James' pricing template. If anybody wants to snag it from her store, she's incredible. But they receive this pricing guide from me. So it's a beautifully displayed pricing guide. It's about 5 pages. And then this is the first page. So it kind of comes full circle because like I mentioned earlier, the first thing I want them to learn about me is that I want them to see my heart and connect with me personally. So the first page of this pricing guide is all about me and almost nothing to do with my photography. It's just fun facts about me, quirky things about me, and ways for them to connect with me before they then continue to see my pricing and all of those types of things. So then after a client books with me, they typically don't know this, but they receive a 70+ page bridal guide in the mail. This is also Caitlin James' template. She is the queen of all templates. But this is the bridal guide this is one of the pages out of the bridal guide that they receive. And it tells them everything they need to know about how to prepare for their wedding day. So how to prep their timeline, what to wear for their engagement session, what to think about when ordering bridal bouquets, how their bridesmaids can help them, so many different things. And they receive this after booking with me. And again, just to come full circle, this is the first page of the bridal guide. So it's about me and it's about my favorite parts of the wedding day before they dive into the rest of the content. Another thing that I do in my client experience, Remy might actually be watching right now, so if she is, hi Remy. But this is one of my sweet brides, Remy, and after my clients' engagement sessions, they receive a box of 4x6 prints from me in the mail. They have no idea those are coming. It's a complete surprise. And there's a little note in there that says, thank you so much for working with me. Another congratulations on your engagement. Enjoy these prints to decorate your new home. And I get little white borders around them and package them up really cute, and they are sent to my client. And one of the awesome things about this is that they feel really loved and I'm providing them with an awesome experience, but it doubles as a reason for my client to be sharing about me on social media. So it doubles as a really awesome tool that I'm giving my clients to promote word of mouth marketing. Another thing that I do is that a month before my client's wedding day is when their final invoice is due. So when their last payment to me is due. So to kind of soften that blow a little bit, I send them a bouquet of Farm Girl flowers. And they get a little note that says, as things get stressful, here's something pretty to take a peek at while you calm down during the wedding day prep season. And so they get these in the mail about a month before. So my bride, Katie, got these yesterday. So I threw this little screenshot in here because it was another, again, reason for her to share about me on social media. So because I market myself personally and because I provide a client experience like this and it feels more like a friendship and a relationship than just a business transaction, my brides do things like this, which is really awesome. This is Kelsey. She was my first bride from last year. And she got this little video that popped up on her Facebook that we had been friends for a year. This has nothing to do with her wedding images. This has nothing to do with the service I provided her, but it was just something that came up and it made her share it. So she shared this with all of her friends and they got a ton of comments and a ton of interaction. And she was promoting me and my business just because she feels like we've become friends, because we totally have since her wedding day. So it's just really cool, these relationships that are created with your brides, because not only do you just have this awesome friendship, but you also have cheerleaders for your business who are going to continue to cheer you on and share about you and promote you and tell their friends about you. So while you're at home hustling hard and working, your brides are going out and marketing for you. It's just a really awesome concept to bring everything full circle. So guys, just to recap really quick, my 5 secrets to building my business in 1 year. 1, don't fear the word free. Use free shooting opportunities strategically to grow and build a platform for future success. Number 2, success attracts success. It's okay to fake it till you make it. Make yourself appear in demand. Make yourself look busy, and that's exactly what your business will become. Number 3, treat your business as a business. It's okay to take yourself seriously even before everybody else does. Make sure that you present yourself professionally from the get-go. Number 4, my favorite, what I believe is the most important, is to give your business a heart. Market yourself as a person, not just as a business owner. Make sure you're marketing yourself as an individual to separate yourself from everybody else. And number 5 is to create an incredible and consistent client experience. So under promise, over deliver, really love on your clients, and they're going to help to build your business for you in the long run. So guys, thank you for listening. I know that was so much information at once. Hopefully you guys got tons of notes. Before we dive into questions, I just wanted to throw this up. This is where you guys can find me. Instagram is obviously where I update most frequently. The link in my bio, it has all of the important links that you need to find me. There's also free downloads and things like that there. And I talked a lot about a client experience tonight and how to under promise and over deliver. So if you want a free download of my 10 ways to improve your client experience ebook, you can go to that link there. It is case sensitive. So if you're typing that into your browser, just make sure that you use the caps where they're shown there. But thanks, guys.
Well, thank you so much, Hope. That was amazing information. And we will definitely get a link to that free download in the chat so that everybody can just copy and paste it rather than trying to type it out and mess up with the case sensitive. Those are always so difficult. So we'll definitely get a link out for everybody, and everybody will be receiving a recording of this online training. And in that, we will also include another link for this free download so that in case you guys miss it here, you'll definitely get it in the email that will go out a couple hours after this. So, awesome. Well, Hope, thank you so much for all of those really great tips. I have like a page worth of notes and questions, and I'm sure that everybody else in the chats do too. So I'd love to just kind of go through a couple questions, talk a little bit more, and then we'll be wrapping up here.
That sounds great. I would love that.
So, okay, going back to your first point, which was about, don't fear the word free. So a couple things here. Before you decide to actually do the free shoots, did you take time to figure out like who, at least maybe get an idea of who your ideal client was, or did you use the free shoots as a way to determine who your ideal client was?
Oh, that's an awesome question. So for me, I feel like it was maybe a little bit of both. From the get-go, I kind of knew the style as far as like fashion and clothing goes that I wanted my clients to have. And so I kind of let that be the guiding like decision maker for me when I was picking clients. I wanted clients that had like a luxury sense of fashion, kind of luxury wardrobe, so that would attract future clients that had the same thing. But I also used it as an opportunity to experiment with the types of photography that I enjoyed. So I found quickly that I wasn't super awesome at families, that I didn't really love newborns, things like that. So that's a really awesome question.
Great. And so then how long do you recommend doing free shoots for? Is it something that maybe you even still do, a few years in, or did you kind of set yourself a limit? Like you could only do it for, the first 3 months and then you'd move on from that. What do you recommend for that?
Yeah. So when I was just starting, I didn't necessarily set myself a limit. I kind of wanted to do it until I felt like my business was in a place that I was charging prices I was happy with, and I was shooting enough that I didn't feel like I needed to supplement with extra content that I was creating on the side with those free shoots. So for like part A of my answer, I guess, is that in the beginning of my business, I did it for about 6 months, and I kind of slowly did it less and less throughout that first 6 months. But I waited until I was in a place where I felt like I had enough content and enough bookings with my paid shoots to forego doing those free shoots. But part B of my answer is that it absolutely is something that I still do. If I feel like there's a season where I don't have enough content, like for example, here on the East Coast, it gets freezing cold for like 5 months out of the year. And so sometimes I will go out and do a shoot for a friend on a warm day because a lot of clients don't book that during that kind of slow season here. And I will still go out and do that so that I have new content to be sharing. And so I don't think that it's ever a concept that should necessarily come to a complete halt. I think that it's something that you become really strategic and selective about, and that the more strategy that you put into it as far as who you're choosing and how you're sharing it and all of those things, it's always going to be something that builds your business no matter what season.
Great answer. So kind of touching upon pricing a little bit, especially, you kind of gave yourself, you had like a year to, make it. And through the year, even for anyone, if you're in your, 5th year of business, your 10th year, do you recommend kind of changing your pricing throughout that, or did you kind of keep it consistent and then at the end of the year reevaluate, determine what you needed to do differently with your pricing?
That's another awesome question, girl. You're killing it with these questions. So when I was in that first year, I based my pricing off of supply and demand. So for me, if I was getting too many inquiries and too many bookings and I just couldn't keep up because I was a full-time student my senior year as well, then I would raise my prices $50 or $100 to kind of wean out some of those clients. And I did that pretty quickly over the span of like a year to a year and a half. My pricing went from $40 a shoot to $450 for a shoot for a portrait session. And so I based my pricing very strictly off of supply and demand. And the way that I marketed myself by making myself appear in demand directly correlated with the fact that I was able to raise my pricing so quickly because I appeared to be so in demand. I was getting so many inquiries that I just had to wean some of them out because there was not enough of me to go around. So it was more of a gradual growth for me. And I didn't really have like a set time frame in my mind where I was like, okay, in 3 months, I'm going to sit down and reevaluate. It was almost just kind of a spur of the moment thing, which is probably not the very professional business answer, but this is what I did when I was 18, is that if I just got an influx of inquiries and I just couldn't book them all, I would bump my pricing $50 to compensate for like weaning out some of those clients. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of how I structured my pricing then. Now, I haven't raised my portrait prices for probably 9 to 12 months. They're probably going to stay where they are for a little bit longer. My wedding prices, I increase again based off of booking. And so every like 3 to 5 brides I book, I'll do a very small price jump, like $200 to $300 in my wedding packages. So that's kind of how it's touch a little bit on pricing there.
Yeah. And, talking a little bit about, I know that you shoot seniors and weddings. When you started out, did you have a goal for, I want to be shooting this many weddings? And then, just to be honest, did you hit that, especially in your first year? Again, even if you're in your second year, your fifth year, sometimes you set a goal, and whether or not you make it, it's always good to be reevaluating that. And, it'd be great to hear from you kind of your experience.
Oh, absolutely. So when I was in my first year, I think just like you said that we are kind of testing the waters to see if we like who our ideal client is, and we're testing the waters to see what type of shoots we like. I was kind of testing the waters with the amount of workload that I was able to take on. And so I was in that first year, I took on way too much for like a 6-month period. And I didn't necessarily set a goal for myself. I was just like, okay, Hope, if you can make money off of this, then you're doing good things, because that's about all I had that I wanted at the time, is that I just wanted it to be profitable and I wanted it to be lucrative. And so at the time I overbooked myself because I was like, let's shoot every single day because I can. And that was something that I very quickly learned what burnout was. And I very quickly learned that you need to take a step back and set goals. And sometimes those goals need to be way less than what you were taking on before in order to keep your sanity and to keep the balance in your life. And so because that first 6 months for me grew so rapidly because of the whole concept of looking in demand, I was booking so quickly and my prices were so low. I very quickly bumped my prices up. Again, I think I made a really big jump from like $200 to $350 for a portrait session. And then I said that I wanted to only shoot 3 nights a week. That was kind of my max limit for how often I wanted to be shooting. And I did typically reach that goal because of the fact that in that 6 months, I had hustled so hard that my business was in a place where I was able to fill all of those slots. However, I didn't actually photograph weddings until my second full year in business. In the first year, I only took second shooting opportunities and I didn't accept wedding bookings. And then in my first year, I did accept wedding bookings. And my goal then was 15 weddings. And I believe I booked 12. So I was a little shy of my goal, but I was still really excited about that. And last year, my goal was 15 and I hit 18, I believe. And then this year, my goal was actually 20, and I believe I'm at 16. And so I'm a little short of my goal this year. And so just to be super transparent, I sometimes hit the goals and I sometimes don't. But those are constantly changing. And I think for me, my priority was the balance of being a student and being a young adult and actually experiencing that season of life while also balancing being a full-time business owner.
Yeah, that's a really great point. And something else that you touched upon was that, you mentioned kind of each year your goal changed. And that's a really, really important point for, everybody to always remember, is that your goal does not have to be the same every year. Absolutely. And you need to use that previous year to evaluate and determine what worked, what didn't, and how you can then use those insights to then shape what your goal for the coming year is. And even if you don't hit it, like you shared, there was a year when you wanted 15 and you got 12, like it's okay when that doesn't happen, but you use that to then determine, okay, why didn't that happen? And then how you can then adjust your goals for the coming year so that you can hit it, or, even go above it. Like the one year you had 18 rather than 15. So I think that was some really, really great insights there. Thank you. I'd love to jump down to when you were talking about your point number 3, which was treat your business as a business. And, I've been scrolling through your Instagram, kind of like a stalker, which I don't know if it's a good thing to admit or not, but
totally fine with me. Totally fine with me.
Seriously, you guys, if you aren't following her on Instagram, you need to go follow Hope Taylor. We'll put her URL in the chats in case you guys are on a computer, then you can just go click and follow. But I bring this up because one thing I notice about your account, one, it's very consistent, but you do a really great job of posting some personal posts, like, of you and who you are and kind of behind the scenes. And then you also showcase, clients and weddings and seniors. And like you mentioned, social media is really a storefront. And sometimes that's the very first thing people are going to see before they even touch your website, before they even see your blog. This could be the first thing they see. So how do you work to create a really good balance? What's the strategy for you of personal posts versus, client photos? How do you kind of determine that? Or even now with Instagram stories and, galleries, how do you balance kind of all of that to come up with a really good strategy?
Yeah. So for me, I always say that I'm about 60-40 on Instagram. I'm 60% my clients and my professional work, and then about 40% personal, if not 50-50 sometimes. I just think that the value of sharing personal things and marketing personally is so strong that I want to make sure that's a massive part of my Instagram strategy. So one of my rules is that in those first 6 to 9 squares that act as my social media storefront, there always has to be a photo of my face. And now you guys are going to start scrolling through my Instagram, and it's going to be really funny because there's a photo of my face every 6 to 9 squares. But that's just a rule that I keep for myself, because amongst all of those seas of faces of my clients and of my professional images, I want somebody that's seeing my work for the first time to be able to say, oh, this is the girl that's actually sharing these photos. This is the girl behind the account. And so that is one of my rules. That's kind of one of the only rules, quote unquote, that I have for myself. But there's always a photo of my face in the first 6 to 9 squares. And then about 60% professional images and my clients, and then about 40% personal. And again, all of my personal posts get the most interaction. They get the most likes. They get the most shares. It's really, really interesting when you start kind of paying attention to those analytics. And then in my Instagram stories, I am always trying to update those as frequently as I can. And typically those are a little more personal. I would say 70% personal, about 30% business. I talk sometimes about blog posts. I'll talk about doing things like my ShootDotEdit online training, but I will also share just kind of behind the scenes, day-to-day things in my normal life, and behind the scenes of shoots and like selfies of me and my clients and things like that, so that people can see the real like human side of business, and then they can see the professional work on my actual Instagram feed.
That's great. And, I love how you kind of use like the 9 squares, because it's true. If you pull up your phone, like usually you can only see the 9 squares and sometimes part of like the 10th, 11th, and 12th one, depending on the size of your phone. But I think that's a really good measure of, okay, do we see hope in the first 9 squares? And if we do, then okay, like you're kind of meeting your strategy. And I think that's a great way to make sure that you are staying personal. And, I love that you have a little bit of a different strategy with stories, where that's a little more focused on who you are and, what you do on a day-to-day basis versus your feed, which has a little bit more client facing. So I think you have some really great points there. Okay, so I have one more question that I'm going to ask, and it has to do with creating the client experience. You shared a ton of examples of different ways that you send them gifts, you send them images after the shoot. Love all of those ideas. So if you had to suggest or recommend, what is your top way that you think somebody could go out today and improve their client experience? What would you recommend them to do?
Yeah.
I know that's a tough question.
No, that is a great question. So for me, that concept of under-promising and over-delivering is the best way to improve your client experience no matter what. And I think that some of the easiest ways to do that right now without spending any money or doing anything differently is just to analyze what you're doing now as far as how many images you're delivering and your email response time and your gallery delivery time and things like that. And then set the expectation lower than what you're doing. So for example, if right now you're delivering 40 images in your online galleries, tell your clients that the online gallery is only going to include 20. And that way, when you deliver the gallery, you're not changing anything about what you're doing, but your client is blown away because their expectation was set lower. And so doing that throughout the entire experience, if you deliver your galleries within 3 weeks, tell them that it's going to take 5, that type of thing. I think that incorporating that into your client experience just by changing the way that you present your packages and the way that you present your services is going to make a huge difference just in your client's perception. Because again, perception is reality. And if their perception is that you've gone above and beyond just for them, even though the reality is you haven't changed anything, they're going to tell all of their friends about how well you treated them and how awesome the client experience was.
Yeah, that's great. Under promise, over deliver. It's such a good piece of advice. Well, again, we're going to get a link for the 10 ways to improve your client experience. That's going to be in the chats. We'll post it again for you guys in case you haven't already downloaded it. Make sure you do. And I want to give another big thanks to HoneyBook and the Rising Tide for supporting this. Again, I know Hope is such good friends. Like, she loves, both of them so much. So we're really glad that we could all come together and create such a good online training today. And of course, Hope, thank you for joining me today and just chatting for the last hour about, what you've done to just grow such a successful business and, to really get it to where you are today. It's been so great just talking and learning from you today.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Again, I was so excited to be a part of it, and I am just so thankful I was able to be here. And Rising Tide and HoneyBook are 2 of my absolute favorite tools for my business that I wish I had found earlier. Rising Tide is an incredible community of creatives, and you will find some awesome, amazing people to collaborate with in that community. And HoneyBook is the backbone of my entire business with my client workflow and with my booking process. So I'm just so thankful both of those companies are involved too.
Yeah, and we got some links out earlier for them. And again, I'll put that in the chats for you guys so that you have it there too, in case you haven't already checked them out. We'll get some information for you guys there. So thanks again, everyone, for joining us today. We're going to get an email out to you guys that has the recording. It has Hope's free download in there, and that'll be sent out in the next couple hours once we're done here. So be sure to be on the lookout for that. That way you can watch this again, take more notes, keep learning from Hope. And, I hope everybody has a great rest of their day. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us.
Thanks, guys.